I like actually did have group sex when I was in Australia with my partners, and I'm just not into it
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, I want you to tell me more about it, maybe with puppets.
Okay.
Just kidding.
I need a lot.
I don't have enough hands.
Welcome to Sex and the Solo Girl. Join your host, her inner circle, and expert guests weekly for chats about dating, secure attachment, the solo lifestyle, doing relationships differently, and of course, sex. And here's your host, Janice Formicella.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here this week. Welcome back to the show, Laura Grant, for what, the third the third episode. This has
Third,
been
yeah, so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing your experience, your wisdom, your expertise on
It's the flattery that really keeps me coming back.
Well, then you'll keep coming back because I think that you are, so knowledgeable and fun. And I'm having such a good time exploring these topics with you. A lot related to, I guess, thinking outside the box when it comes to relationships. And like I like to say, a dash of non-monogamy. Though today, this is not a dash. This is going to be a scoop full of, of non-monogamy. And what we are talking about today is compersion. So if you are non-monogamous, does that mean that you never get jealous? Does that mean that you always get jealous? Does that mean that you enjoy watching your partners have sex with their partners? Like, what really is the mindset around people who enter into this quote unquote lifestyle? Compersion is one such concept that is encouraged in the non-monogamous community. However, it is, I think, misunderstood pretty much by everyone. It is unknown to a lot of people. I don't think the word is even in the dictionary, at least. I'm not sure. Every time I typed it into my outline, it came up as as misspelled because I wasn't recognized. So let's get into it. What is compersion? Is it the cure for jealousy? Is it the opposite of jealousy? How do you gain it? What does it look like? You ready, Laura?
Sure, I'll start with kind of how we use it every day. I'm sure you've done some research and could maybe tell us something a little more detailed or eloquent, but I think of it as kind of a vicarious or maybe sympathetic joy in viewing other people experiencing happiness that isn't necessarily caused by yourself, especially when it comes to relationships. So watching someone you're in a relationship with have a positive experience in a relationship with someone else. That's how I use the word compersion.
I think that would be similar to me. The official definition, according to, I think this was Oxford, if not Wikipedia. I mean, I enjoyed the definition wherever I got it. And that is compersion: vicarious joy associated with seeing one's partner have a joyful romantic or sexual relation with another. The antonym is jealousy. We're going to talk about whether or not we believe that. And it was coined by the Carista community in the 1970s, probably following the model of dispersion, which I'm going to talk about. And this was interesting. Carista was a utopian community that was started in New York City in 1956. Throughout much of its history, Carista was centered on the ideas of polyfidelity and the creation of intentional communities. And when Wikipedia says that they coined it after the model of dispersion, this is cute. Dispersion means the state of being dispersed over a wide area and the pattern of distribution of individuals within a habitat. So I like this because they're saying that they modeled compersion from dispersion, and basically we're looking to let love grow and multiply rather than stay in one little area. Jealousy is going to come up through this entire episode. Let's just throw it out there. What is the difference between compersion and jealousy, Laura?
So sometimes people talk about these as the opposite. I would say compersion has maybe a little narrower scope because it was a word that filled a gap to express kind of happiness relating to interpersonal relations, whereas jealousy is kind of more generic term. Thinking about jealousy, it's really an emotion that's rooted in rivalry. And so we're trying to have a more collaborative view of interpersonal relationships when we talk about compersion.
Yeah.
So in that context, I do think they're good contrasts for each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. And I think that moving toward compersion is, I think, often talked about as some sort of goal or ending point. However, that's a lot easier said than done. But because we are going to continue to come back to the concept of, or the feeling of jealousy, let's get clear what we're talking about. And again, this is kind of embarrassing that I pulled multiple things from Wikipedia, but I guess I did. Jealousy generally refers to the thoughts or feelings of insecurity, fear, and concern over a relative lack of possessions or safety. Jealousy can consist of one or more emotions, such as anger, resentment, inadequacy, helplessness, or disgust. Yowza. What do you think about that definition of jealousy? I think it rings true for me.
Yeah, I don't really see anything bad there. It's an emotion, right? And it's unpleasant to experience in most instances. I would say, by its definition, it's pretty unpleasant. But, I'm always wary when people judge emotions as being good or bad. Mm-hmm. There's emotions that feel good and there's emotions that don't feel good. Sure, that's, of course, makes sense. But, when I think of any emotion, it's kind of your consciousness giving you some kind of information.
Okay.
So that's how I view it. And I think comes hand in hand with a lot of other different emotions. When we think about jealousy, we compare it with things easily, like feelings of betrayal, distrust, bitterness, what else? Resentment, anger, hostility. So it comes with all this, it's like a cornucopia here of these unpleasant emotions that can often be tied to it. And I feel like, as a result, jealousy as an emotion is a little more nebulous than, say, sadness.
Or annoyance.
Yeah, or insecurity. I feel like jealousy can have different flavors and take you in different directions and root from different kind of supporting emotions. So
when you say that emotions are often signals from your system, is that what you said?
Sure, I said consciousness, but system works. Sure.
Okay. What do you think jealousy could be a signal of?
I mean, so many things. I think really making your jealousy serve you, right? So viewing it as a source of information means you have to kind of dig a little deeper and try to figure out and investigate what's the source of that, right? Is it coming from an insecurity that you have? Mm-hmm. Is it coming from some kind of dissatisfaction with yourself? That's really unpleasant to face, right?
Yeah.
From some kind of unmet need. So it's not always coming solely from within, right? You could be in a situation that is really highlighting some kind of unmet need or repeating some kind of past wound where you see a pattern of when you were hurt in the past and you think that it's repeating. That can sometimes cause jealousy as well. Using it as a flag to say something's not right with me, I need to investigate that, turns it from something, I think we portray jealousy so poorly in the US and we're so toxic about it with our the green-eyed monster and these, oh, well, it was a crime of passion. I get it. Mm-hmm. Justifying really bad behavior and the misconception that jealousy is caring. And if your romantic partner doesn't get jealous, and that means they don't care about you all that much. Mm-hmm. This is something that comes up over and over again in our culture and our media.
Yes, or that it's romantic or that it's to be expected. And not just that, of course, people feel jealousy, but it's also acting upon it that I think is very, I guess, romanticized in our society. I like what you said. You kept on bringing it back to, signals, something that you need to learn and what it's telling you about yourself, rather than looking outward for someone to either explain it, like your relationship, or for someone else to help you solve it. Dealing with jealousy is an inside job, if you ask me. What do you think about that?
Sure. And it doesn't mean that someone isn't doing something, someone isn't behaving badly. But I think when you have a little more clarity about why you're feeling negatively in a relationship, then you can be more productive having discussions with the other people to resolve it and heal and make repair.
And learning from jealousy and working through jealousy is such a character builder. This is one of the things that I like most about non-monogamy, is that it lets you face these things about yourself and then learn and grow from them. Jealousy is probably one of the top things that can teach you so much about, interpersonal communications, how you show up, how you manage emotions, how you self-soothe, how you learn from things. And as I was just saying, I do think that we are often not encouraged to work through jealousy and even encouraged to allow it and act upon it because, yes, of how the media portrays it, crazy ass music videos, sitcoms. And we need to really push back on that and move more towards, healthy ways of self-managing it and talking with people about it rather than impulsively acting upon it.
Oh, yeah. I'm so annoyed. The song Genghis Khan that was popular a few years ago, it's so catchy. And I'm like, I don't like the song. It's really toxic, but it's so catchy. I can't get it out of my head.
What were some of the lyrics?
Like I get a little bit Genghis Khan. Don't want you to get it on with anyone but me. Yeah. I'm like, I don't like the message of this song, but I can't stop tapping my feet.
I can't stop tapping my feet. Yeah, that's the problem. It's, it creeps up on us. It's in a lot of our subconsciousness for sure. Yeah. And I think also when you bring it up with people, those who are not well versed in compersion or who don't see jealousy as something to work through, I think a lot of people get overly I keep on using the word encouraged, but people, I think, have this kind of propped up idea of when you're experiencing this, that of course you would, why not? Rather than what is this really saying about yourself? What is this saying about your relationship? What is this saying about how you want to show up in your relationship? So we're going to talk all about that today and how you can possibly move from compersion or from jealousy to compersion if you should. All of these alternative ways of doing relationships differently and doing relationships with multiple people so that it serves multiple people. So this might be somewhat obvious, but why is this such a thing in non-monogamous communities? Considering that none of us ever get jealous, right? How has this become our thing?
Yeah. And, we're laughing because some people think that non-monogamous folks have found some kind of magic wand and erased jealousy from their consciousness. And that's just not true. It often takes a lot of work. And, we're people just like anybody else. Some of us are really toxically jealous and some of us are bad at communicating and some of us don't have good relationships and some of us are great at it. So certainly it takes all kinds. So don't let that discourage you if it's something that you're exploring. I think it's really the word kind of came into being. We needed this word because we're trying to, as I said before, trying to have a more collaborative view of relationships. And we're trying to move away from the scarcity model of love, which a lot of jealousy is rooted in. So it's saying it's a zero-sum game. If my partner or partners are giving more affection or love to someone else, it means there's less for me. It's a pie. Someone else is getting more of the pie. That means I'm getting less. And non-monogamous people are trying to move away from that model and saying that love is super abundant and even infinite. And there are resources such as time that are limited, but that love is not one of these limited resources. We don't need to dig our claws into the amount we're getting and be afraid of losing it. When we share it with others, it multiplies.
Yes.
And, romantic and sexual relationships are really the only place where this happens. Like you would never say to someone, oh, you've decided to have a second child? Oh, your relationship with your first child must not have been that good. Or don't you love your first child? Why would you want a second one? People just don't even say that.
Yeah, I was in a class a couple of weeks ago about relationship coaching, which I'm very, very interested in. And I brought up the fact that I was going to be working with non-monogamous couples. And I was shocked, first of all, that hardly anyone in the workshop had any idea even what I was talking about, which was kind of troubling. And then they started talking about how there's lots of non-monogamy that people don't agree to, and it ends up causing lots of pain. And I'm like, okay, I can't even do a non-monogamy 101 with everyone right now. And someone said they had heard that couples who decide to be non-monogamous often do so because they have an undeveloped attachment style and are not able to fully bond and be intimate with just each other. And so therefore they feel the need to open it up to other people. And I am like, what? And I pushed back like crazy. I was so offended. But yeah, I guess that is what a lot of people would think.
Yeah. Whenever you depart from the norm, you're going to get pushback. And that's unfortunate that it was in this community of people who are dedicating their time and resources to supporting other people's relationships. That's a little disheartening, but
it was, yeah.
We're there.
Well, but also this just makes me want to dive even deeper into this. Non-monogamous relationship coaches and coaches for people who are new to non-monogamy is actually a growing field. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to become a part of it. And going back to the goal, which is, yes, allowing love to spread, and therefore you bring more in and you let the people you love bring more in. I found this paper. There was a ton of academia on compersion. And one was an article from Cambridge.org, and it's called Compersion, an alternate to jealousy? ? By Luke Brunning. And this goes back to what Laura was just saying as far as letting the joy and the love spread and actively letting the joy and the love spread. People cultivate compersion by softening their propensity to be jealous and by attending to the flourishing of others, which requires them to tackle entitlement and temper vulnerability. I argue that jealousy is not a valuable emotional disposition. Its instrumental benefits are minor, unstable, and have to be traded against the harms of aggression. I really love that. Before we get too much into the ins and outs of this and whether or not this is necessary, what it looks like on a day-to-day basis, let's think of how it looks from a poetry basis. I have actually shared this song on the podcast multiple times, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous, it's often referred to as the polyamory song, and that is Can't Help But Fly by Climbing Poetry. And I pulled some of my favorite lyrics from it. So if you're feeling that this is a bit dubious and you're not sure really how you could, I guess, embody this and why you should, listen to these lovely lyrics from the song. Jealousy is fear. Sometimes I'm scared of losing you, but you and I are free to leave if we choose to. I'm taking down the bricks of this invisible wall. And when the wind of love blows, now we both can feel it all. This is my favorite part of the song. You love to hear me sing, even if you didn't write the note. I love to hear you laugh. Even if I didn't tell the joke.
That's my favorite part too.
Yes, it's so beautiful. Even if you are not the cause of your partner's happiness, you can still be happy. I love to cuddle, love to pull your body close. I love it when you're happy, even if I have to let you go. And this is beautiful. It also, I think, makes it seem a little easier than a lot of people find it. But I also think that it's a way of looking at it that might help some people strive for it, because that is a really lovely way of viewing love and relationships. Let's get into the ins and outs. What is compersion not?
So I think compersion is not ignoring your jealousy.
Okay.
It's not pretending you don't feel jealous. And, the crazy thing, one of the many crazy things about emotions are that you can have multiple emotions at the same time and they can feel kind of like they conflict with one another.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the things this paper was looking at. It said arguments that conclude that jealousy is a virtue rest on contentious premises and overlook the practical question as to whether jealousy and compersion could be cultivated together. I mean, yeah, you're right. Two things can exist, at the same time.
We've all, had that happen where maybe you go through a breakup and it's a relief and it was the right thing to do and you're excited about the future, but you're also really sad about losing that person and about, losing that vision of the future that you had. Those emotions can coexist within you, just like compersion and jealousy can coexist within you. And I would say a lot of people describe compersion not necessarily as something that's going to be within you all the time, but you're going to get these moments, these glimpses where it's going to be really noticeable and you're just going to shine from you, and that you're going to have this lovely moment reflecting on your gratitude for and your appreciation of the uniqueness and the autonomy of your partner, and be happy that they're connecting with other people. It's not necessarily like 24/7 you're going to be rolling around in this compersive bliss, if that's even a proper use
and
of the
also,
word.
is it bliss? Some people online were describing it as a euphoric state. And I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that that's how I've necessarily experienced it. And that's also, I think, a little dangerous, because when there are messages, online on Reddit, speaking to people who are interested in non-monogamy, and they're getting the idea that you should be euphoric about your partner's happiness with other partners. I actually think that's a bit of a slippery slope, because I think that would be asking a lot of people. Also, euphoria is a extremely unique way to feel, and I'm not sure lots of people would access euphoria through this type of scenario. So I want to put it out there, at least, that I don't think you need to feel euphoric over your partner's happiness with other people, but that's just me.
Yeah, and that invites people to say, like, well, am I doing it wrong? Which I think is the big danger that we talk about. And, you were quoting some of those articles that said, oh, well, you shouldn't be jealous and you should be.
Yeah, and that there's no virtue in jealousy and that its benefits are minimal. And it's like, well, yeah, duh, but we're human beings.
You're not. Yeah, you can't control your emotions. You can cultivate emotions, and you can certainly control your actions.
Yes,
which
right
again,
there.
That's always really important.
Your response to your emotions.
So yeah, it's not. I don't think it's an all-consuming thing. It doesn't block out other emotions like jealousy. So, and it's not. Toxic positivity is a thing in our culture too, to say, I should feel happy all the time. I'm responsible for my happiness and positive emotions. And therefore, if I'm not feeling positive things, it's my fault. I'm doing something wrong. And that's just nonsense. So, I don't want people to think they need to ignore their real emotions in the desire to connect with this euphoric out state.
And also, I think we talk about this. Compersion is also not overexposure or forced exposure to your partner's engagements and activities with their other partners. I think that some people might think that this is kind of, a free-for-all and everyone's watching each other do everything, and that you are not practicing non-monogamy correctly unless you're setting up dates for your boyfriend with other women, or like I said earlier, like watching, each other have sex or engaging in sex with everybody. I actually had a partner when I was in Melbourne whose wife did one day actually like plan a little date for us because he was going out of town. She put like candles all over the room and, made us this really lovely scene because we weren't going to be together for quite a while. And I would say that was very unique. And I don't want to put the bar like too high for what people think that they should do when it comes to how you interact with your partner's significant others.
That's a great example. And, the way compersion manifests in life doesn't even have to be that grandiose. I think that was a beautiful gesture.
Yeah.
But, I love to dine at restaurants here in Denver. And so I help my partners pick good restaurants when they go on dates. And I'm happy to do that. And I get excited and I want to know, what does your other partner like? Do they have any dietary restrictions so we can get the perfect restaurant that will make for a nice date night for you? Or even giving partners maybe a little more time and space when they're in like new relationship energy modes, when they're in a new relationship and they're really excited. That can be a little tough on a pre-existing relationship because it does take a lot of emotional bandwidth and energy when you're that excited about a new partner. But, giving that extra space, giving that extra encouragement, and just saying, oh, I love that feeling when I experience it.
That's great.
I'm so glad my partner's getting to experience that. Again, that vicarious, that sympathetic joy. Like, I know how wonderful that feels. And now someone I care about is feeling that good. That's great.
New relationship energy is definitely something that we will cover. And then I also want to say you can feel happy for your partner and supportive of your partner, but you can come to agreements around how much you actually interact with their partners. And that's completely valid. Just because you're happy for someone doesn't, mean you're going to be best friends and all be going out together all of a sudden. So just, do what feels comfortable to you, make agreements, have conversations, and make it work for everyone. And this comes to something that I really want to dive into. I went on Reddit. I'm new to Reddit, everybody. It's been, people have encouraged me to go on there because I'm spicing up the podcast quite a bit. And I have to say, it's been quite revelatory in many ways. A quick search of compersion on Reddit brought up a whole lot of fucking angst. Let's just say that.
Yes, I agree.
With a lot of the threads starting with, I don't feel compersion.
Oh no. Yeah.
Yes.
Am I the worst?
Am
I a monster?
It's going back to the expectations that we're setting about what this looks like and how to do non-monogamy properly, in quotes. So Laura, what if someone listening is saying, this just sounds beyond my reach. I don't feel this way. Does this make me a bad polyamorous person? Does this make me a bad partner? Yeah. What do you do if you're just feeling like this isn't present?
So, yeah, if you are non-monogamous or investigating non-monogamy and you aren't feeling compersion, oh my goodness. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can't control your emotions. Again, you can control your actions. And so making sure that you are acting well, that you are treating everyone ethically, that you are giving partners the same autonomy that you would expect and that you want yourself, following that golden rule, it works. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Pressuring yourself to feel certain ways doesn't actually help you feel that way. In fact, it can have the opposite effect. And I think something that I've certainly had to work on a lot is not so much what emotions I'm feeling or not feeling. It's those meta emotions, how I feel about the way I actually feel. So what I'm trying to think and judge about the way I'm feeling. So for example, my partner is going out on a date with a new person that I don't even know, and I feel kind of icky about it. Oh, well, I can just feel icky about it. That's okay. I don't, I can work on that. I can investigate that. I can talk to my partner about that. But it makes it so much more difficult because that's a tough thing to experience. That's an, unpleasant thing to experience. But then to add these meta emotions of judgment on top of it, that's the real difficult part. That's the thing we do to ourselves over and over that makes it so much more difficult to work through these emotions is I shouldn't feel jealous. I've been in this situation before. I should know better. I should have more wisdom. I should have more, I should be more magnanimous. I should. When it's just an emotion, it's just giving you information about what you're experiencing in the world. If you never experience compersion, that's totally fine. You can still be a wonderful partner to many or one person. It's not a prerequisite. Now, I also say you can kind of cultivate emotions. You can work in a certain direction. For me, this has been really powerful in the sense of gratitude. So I have a daily gratitude practice, right? Gratitude is an emotion. I can't make myself feel gratitude, but what I can do is I can practice. And first of all, having a consciousness around it, to be aware that we have a cultural bias towards negativity and towards fear and towards worry about loss, and to kind of say, okay, that is in our culture. That is what I'm battling. If I'm experiencing those things, that's really normal. That's really okay. But how do I bring a little more balance into my life? And so really being aware when I do get those glimpses of, in this case, gratitude, but it works the same for compersion or really any emotion, to say, oh, I'm feeling grateful for something today, or let me put aside some time to think about what I could be grateful for in my life, moves you in that direction towards balance. And doesn't mean that you're going to wake up tomorrow and never worry about losing anything again and never feel a negative emotion. But gratitude will just have a slightly bigger place in your life the more that you put intention towards paying attention to it.
I like what you're saying about the self-reflective aspect of all of this, and also the desire and ability and execution of taking responsibility for your own experience. And another thing that I would say up to anyone who's thinking, I don't feel compersion, feeling euphoria over my partner meeting someone new is way too out of my reach. You might just want to start with just examining your jealousy and just starting to learn how to cope and self-soothe when it comes to working through jealousy. That is a whole process in and of itself. You do not need, or I don't even know that you should or could go from, I'm really struggling with these feelings of jealousy and insecurity, and then just moving immediately towards, yay, let me help you plan your date. Like, how did it go? And so the first step is deconstructing your jealousy and figuring out how you will, in this situation, deal with your feelings, and then possibly moving forward, how you'll deal with it when they arise. And self-soothing is a topic that I'm very, very interested in, maybe even passionate. It's been game changer in my own life. It's something I've done a lot of study around. I think it completely turns your experience with relationships in general around. It is so empowering to know that you can look after your own emotional needs. And it is the reason why Polysecure by Jessica Fern is the book on how to enter into non-monogamy whilst dealing with things that are very likely to come up. And it is the best book on attachment theory. And she goes into great detail about how you can take responsibility for your feelings of jealousy and work toward them and move from any insecure attachment style to secure. And it's an inside job. So everyone go check out that book. Maybe I'll have her on the show someday. She definitely has an approach that I very, very, very highly respect. So instead of just wanting to go from one extreme to the other, let's just maybe focus on jealousy for the time being, and then, see what happens when you're...
And let's be gentle with ourselves, right? The degree to which you're susceptible to jealousy may be due to factors way outside of your control, right? And so it's not about fixing it. There's nothing wrong with you because you experience jealousy. It's about having a growth mindset, which it's a wonderful term. We use it. I work for a big old corporation and we use it a lot. So it's starting to leave a bad taste in my mouth, but it is a good one. Having a growth mindset, it's not about I'm broken, I need to fix it. It's not goal oriented. It's a never ending process of growth and self-understanding. And, there is no set goal that you have to reach, otherwise you failed. It's just every day that we're learning more about ourselves and how we want to show up in the world.
I love it. That's great. And another reason why I think non-monogamy is something more people should consider is because it does make you face these things more often, I think. I also want to point out an absence of jealousy or an absence of feeling overwhelmed by jealousy won't necessarily mean that you feel compersion. True. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Total neutrality is a fine way to be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get, maybe we can, get into some personal examples. And Laura, can you think of something from your life, like either a fun story about compersion or a time that it helped you work through something? What comes to mind?
It's just about being empathetic for other people. So, my partner had an experience where he was out on a date and she got a phone call and said, I am so sorry. My other partner just got really bad news. And he was like, just go be with him. I would want someone with me if I were getting really bad news and going through something difficult. Yeah. And, I want you to be able to invest in that relationship with someone you care about. And yes, we had prior plans, but I can be flexible in this moment and understand that that's for the greater good for all of us. Okay. Is if you can show this person support. And if they need my support, let them know I'm here. I've been through things myself. And just hearing that story was so nice about just treating everyone like human beings who need this beautiful support system that you're co-creating with them.
Mm-hmm. And that is a great example because, and I keep on going back to the description of it being a euphoric state, just because I saw that online so often in my research for this. And again, it was supportive. It was very caring. It was loving. And I wouldn't say this was necessarily a euphoric state that this man experienced. Right. But yeah, that's still compersion. Yeah. And I think for me as well, that would be more how it shows up. Definitely happy when my partners have an experience with someone else that they enjoyed. Excited for them when they have plans, for sure. But I wouldn't say, that I'm to the point that it fills me with any sort of unexpected level of joy. I also think that I'm kind of the type who doesn't need to know everything my partners do with other people. And that's just, I don't know, I have a lot going on. It doesn't even really occur to me sometimes to get all the details. And so I think I have levels of compersion, but I think that I'm just like generally supportive is more how I would describe it for myself. But maybe that's a better working definition of compersion. I don't know.
I like that. I think that makes total sense for you. For me, I am fiercely curious. And so it's kind of, I'm out there in the world experiencing things and deriving joy from the novelty and the experience of that. And now I have access to hearing about someone else's diverse, varied experience too. And I'm excited for them being out in the world, meeting people and connecting with them and having these maybe joyful, maybe not, but just rich experiences. And so that kind of, for me, is where the compersion just makes sense, because I am, again, I love the word vicariously experiencing their joy. So now everyone is having more joy. And my partners being these three-dimensional people with their own interests and their own things going on really enriches our conversation and our experience of each other when we're together. So I don't want to maybe put a selfish lens on it, but just the whole thought of by sharing and extending the love, the joy, the connection in all directions, it's all coming back to you. Important for this group of people you care about.
There's a lot to think about for sure. I'm wondering though if some people feel intimidated by this concept, if kind of working towards this, or might be something to look at.
When I think about it, what kind of questions can you ask of yourself to kind of start feeling into this area, right? Like, what do you really want for your partner? So that kind of takes you out of your own head and starts getting you thinking about the experience you want for this other person that you care about.
And taking yourself away from, the center. And yes, actually, that is such a good question to ask. I love that, rather than what do I want them to see or what's going to make me comfortable, and therefore possibly having them or asking them to completely sacrifice something that could be important to them.
Right. And then from an empathetic lens, thinking about it from the golden rule side, how would I want to be treated? What kind of partner do I want to be? And what kind of partner would I want to have when we're talking about finding joy outside of that relationship? So saying, hey, when I'm in a new relationship, I really appreciate it when I'm being supported and when others are getting joy from that. So I want to reflect that back at people and be the one sharing joy when they are experiencing happiness.
Yeah, it just makes you also, I don't know if this is the right terminology, but I mean, just makes you a better partner. I mean, why not make things easier for the other person rather than, I don't know, more challenging? I don't know. It's the way that I look at a lot of things in life. What do you think, though, about agreements and non-monogamous situations where there is a level of maybe don't ask, don't tell, we do things separately? I mean, do you think that that's a valid way to go about it?
It can be, sure. If that's the agreement that you have, as long as you've really asked yourself where that's stemming from. Totally. If it's, I'm really busy and maybe we're into really different things and we're working on having a sense of autonomy and we're working on our individuality, and that is being served by just trusting that the other person is making the best decisions for themselves, then I think that's great. Don't ask, don't tell has a really bad rap in the non-monogamous community because it is judged as being a way to avoid the topic.
Yeah.
And if you're avoiding the topic, that means you're not as comfortable with it as you are trying to portray yourself as. And that can happen, I'm sure, but it's just as easy that, I could ask my partner for the full rundown and be cringing inside at every single word that they say because I'm also pretending to be comfortable with something I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah, completely. This could be a way of being supportive, perhaps. Just like you go and have fun. That's awesome. I'll see you. We connect when we connect and how we connect. And I don't know. I think there's ways to make it across the board. But yeah, all of this is about examination, not just for yourself, but the relationship that you're in and, what's motivating you to make certain decisions about it. What would you say when it comes to sexual intimacy and compersion? I'm just like, this is coming to me now. I think that it could be easy to think of being excited for your partner, meeting someone new or going on a cool holiday with someone or having a fun date or just thinking that they're with someone awesome. And that's awesome. That's awesome. They're awesome. I always feel so inarticulate whenever Laura comes on the show. I'm not kidding. I do not struggle with this with other guests. Oh my God. That's a compliment. That's more flattery.
Oh, thanks.
So I think some people could kind of see that, but maybe when it comes to sexual intimacy would maybe feel a little more challenged. How is this maybe something, like, how have you worked through this? I could say that would maybe ring true for me. I don't need to know the details. I don't think that makes me non-compersive.
Right. Yeah. And, the amount of information shared is kind of separate from that feeling of joy for your partner's joy. And it can really go either way. And again, this is another arena where you can be feeling conflicted or opposite emotions at the same time. And that's fine. That's totally part of the human experience, is especially if this is a new kind of experience, that we're taught that, sexuality should be exclusive in a romantic relationship. And so breaking that down and unlearning that is really difficult. And maybe you don't want to unlearn that, or, whatever the case may be. But sexual intimacy has been held on a pedestal for so long as this, that's a very big part of that scarcity model, is if my partner's having sex with someone else, they're not going to want to have sex with me, etc. Where I've, anecdotally just heard a lot of people who say, when my partner starts having sex with other people, our sex life really improves. It's just like everything is kind of has this spark of sexual interest to it. The sex life, your own sex life could be improved. And I've known people for whom like sexual fantasy was the kindling that led them to non-monogamy. So they said, I've been having these sexual fantasies of my partner being with someone else. And it's a little bit scary, but it's really hot. And talking about that and seeing what that might entail and whether the other person would consent to that, and et cetera, et cetera. And, starting down a path that started with the kind of, I think it would be exciting for me to think about you, my partner, having sex with somebody else. And maybe it just stops there. You do it once, maybe you like it, maybe you don't, never do it again. Or maybe it, okay, now this was actually very positive for everyone, and we want to keep moving in this direction of non-exclusivity. Yeah, for some people, it's really scary and it's one of the biggest hurdles. And for some people, it's the most exciting, wonderful part. And we're all different.
Yes, for sure. And you don't necessarily, need to be having threesomes to be a good partner or to have compersion. I know that works for a lot of people, which I think is awesome. And if this makes you uncomfortable, I encourage you to look at why and figure out how you're going to process it. And do know, like Laura said, this is different for everyone. You don't need to do things one way or the other. And you can always be, having maybe an end goal in mind. Compersion is a lovely sounding topic. Who doesn't want to be a supportive partner and help love multiply rather than chopping it up and allowing it to be squandered? But as with many things, there is a shadow. Let's talk about the dark side of compersion and what are actually some of the dangers or the risks of really leaning in either, too much into this without, being properly informed.
Yeah, great segue. Again, we're talking about emotions here, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, can't control your emotions, but you can control your behavior, right? So what negative behavior could come from people who are not handling their emotion of compersion well, right? Okay. You mentioned it a little earlier when you said forced engagement. And I think this is when compersion kind of turns the corner about being happy for your partner's joy. And it comes back to, what am I getting? How is this about me? This is something I want. I covet this joy. I need this joy, etc. To say, and that could manifest as demanding more information about a partner's other relationship. And that could be a
that's
big
an interesting
violation
one.
of privacy, right?
Right.
Your partner and their partners, that's not your relationship. That's not, they have a right to privacy and you don't have a right to that detailed information about them. So you need to make sure you're having discussions about how much information they feel comfortable sharing with you. Maybe they don't want to share the nitty-gritty details about their sex life with you.
Or maybe their new partner doesn't. That's also something to talk about when you're dating someone new. And, you need to voice these things. How much do I want everyone in their quad or their polycule to know about me and what I'm up to with you?
Right, exactly. And, we talked a little bit about sex and how this can be a source of like sexual fantasy or arise from sexual fantasy. But, the negative side of that is fetishizing your metamors. So thinking of them as sex objects that you want to fantasize about. And that's kind of can be icky. It can be fine. Again, fetishes can be a lot of fun. And, the things you think about in your own mind, that's a safe space for you. But treating them like sexual objects and, again, demanding more information than they're willing to share with you, starting to demand, well, I'm so joyful about your relationship, I want to be a part of it. Like, that's not particularly, empathy and entitlement are definitely different, right? Making that other relationship about you is the dark side, right? Look what a great partner I am. Look how amazing it can be performative. Look at what the perfect non-monogamous person I am because I've earned my badge of compersion. Like, that's just nonsense, right?
That's interesting. See, because for me, I feel like I would be somewhat motivated by being seen that way. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, that's perfectly
so you're saying
natural, but to put on a mask of compersion to hide your true feelings in order to get respect in the community.
Gotcha. Okay.
It can be used as a mask to hide feelings of jealousy and insecurity. And this is not unique to compersion. It's masking your own emotions behind anything can be negative and detrimental to yourself, right? Also becoming hyperfixated on it and chasing it all the time instead of just appreciating where you are.
Yes.
And this is about a never-ending process of growth, not about, I've gotten this one thing, I need more of it. Now my relationships are all about experiencing this.
And I think allowing yourself, if you want to feel neutral rather than joyous, that's okay as well. In fact, I think for a lot of people, getting to the point where you do feel neutral is huge. And I think that can take a lot of self-reflection and by itself. And that maybe that's your goal, is that you're not feeling so overwhelmed by jealousy all the time. And you kind of get to the point where you're just kind of cool with it. And that is fine. What would you say as far as the dark side of compersion goes when it comes to maybe a partner whose partner is not feeling compersion and just being like really kind of demanding or just maybe pushing your partner farther than they're ready to go?
First of all, not shaming folks for being less compersive than you are, right? I think Polyphilia said moral superiority does not coexist with compersion. Those things do not jive well. And again, finding out, working on that relationship, not to get your metamor, that other person, to the evolved state that you have reached, where you are euphoric, as we've said before, about your partner's other relationship. Like, again, we're not being goal oriented. It's, how do I support this relationship and how do I be empathetic to what they're going through while also honoring the agreements I have with my partner and my own boundaries, and all that good stuff. I think there can be a lot of judgments when someone's having a difficult time with jealousy or not experiencing compersion in the same way you are. It's very easy to fall into a place of judgment as opposed to a place of curiosity and wanting to collaborate on growing.
And I mean, that's something that is talked about often in the non-monogamous world, is the issue of judgment and letting people go on the journey in the way that they need to go on the journey, and not prescribing how anything should be and how people should experience it. Look, this is a complicated way to live, and especially if you're new to it. So let's, all be supportive of each other and how we get to where we're going to get. What about getting to compersion? We've talked a lot about accepting yourself where you are, self-soothing, other people not being judgmental, the option of perhaps staying neutral. I still think, though, that some people might think this actually sounds great. I'm just really not sure how to get there. And that's another problem, I guess, when it comes to, relationships in general, especially non-monogamy, is that people aren't equipped with the tools, the resources, the knowledge about where to go to get support for these things. There's not even communities in every city where you can just get support. So where would you start if you actually want to go down this path of embracing more of this in your life and relationships?
Well, you mentioned the book Polysecure. Reading up on the topic, I think language is so powerful for me personally. Just having the word compersion helped me, again, be more mindful and to recognize it when I'm seeing it. Other things you can do, what steps can I take in that direction? Okay, if celebrating my partner's joy because they're in a relationship with someone else seems difficult, what other joy can you celebrate in your partner's life? Ooh. Maybe professional joy and professional success, or maybe something to do with their hobbies or their family life, or really leaning into how does it feel to me when my partner is happy about something, and to just sit in that space that could feel lovely. And, to take time to intentionally enjoy that, I think could be a good step. Just expressing and feeling gratitude for this person, and investigating and spending time with the things in that relationship that make you feel secure. I think being secure is a foundation and a stepping off point for a lot of, getting out of your comfort zone in any sense. And so none of us feel 100% right, secure all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't feel super secure. Maybe insecurity is something you really battle with or experience a lot. But taking the time to think about what, maybe they're very small, but what little things in that relationship do make you feel secure, and start putting intention towards them and being more aware of them rather than constantly focusing on the things that make you insecure. Just starting to get a little more of that balance, I think helps you move. It helps you get out of a pattern of thinking.
Yes.
And helps you think about what other ways you could be viewing the world.
And along those lines, another thing that I am exploring more and that I am 1,000% passionate about, and I guess I use that word maybe a lot today, but I am so into supporting people to become securely attached. And that starts with just the knowledge and just the knowing that you can actually transition your attachment tendencies towards a more secure, attached approach to your life and to relationships. Just because you've taken a test online that says you're anxious, attached, or avoidant, or just because this is how you've shown up in your relationships in the past, doesn't mean that this is stamped on you. It means that that's how you've shown up in the past, but it doesn't mean that you can't learn how to, go advance towards secure. And I think that a lot of people believe that these things are inherent about them. And it can actually be really exciting and even a bit of a game to decide that you are going to work on this and move towards secure. And I think that would be definitely one place to start with all of this.
Yeah, controlling your own narrative. Love it.
I will be eventually starting a coaching course called Becoming Securely Attached. It's going to be awesome. You are not doomed to or destined to stay anxious in all of your relationships moving forward. I think that it would behoove us to change the way that we discuss attachment theory, and that it's actually a choice.
Yeah, I just wanted to share something. Maybe people will think it's a little silly, but something that really helped me when I was first becoming non-monogamous was, again, I talk a lot about language and getting new words, and compersion was new for me, but someone invited me to think about the difference between jealousy and envy. So
Okay.
neither of them feel great. Neither of them, they're both kind of difficult to deal with, but envy being kind of rooted more in comparison and jealousy in rivalry. So I think about it like envy is you have ice cream, I wish I also had ice cream. And jealousy is you have ice cream, I wish I had your ice cream.
Okay.
And so I wish you didn't have it and I did.
Okay.
Right? So rivalry versus comparison. And when I started thinking about it that way, it made me realize I don't actually experience jealousy as often as I thought I was. I was experiencing some jealousy and I was experiencing a lot of envy. I don't want my partner not to have good things. It's just sometimes difficult when, I see them maybe doing better than I am, or their dating life is going better than mine, or it's more of a comparison to say, they're having all these great experiences. I don't want to take that away from them. I don't want them to not have that. I just kind of wish I was having it too. And that was the first just little step towards that more balanced view of I'm not actually wanting negative things for my partner. It's just the fact that I'm comparing myself to other people, and that sometimes can breed kind of feelings of inadequacy. And so dealing with that instead of saying, well, I just get jealous and there's nothing to be done.
Mm-hmm. And that you want to take something. I think when it comes to jealousy versus envy and wanting to take something from your partner rather than explore maybe what it looks like for you and what you're wanting out of your life, I would say, maybe think about the long-term consequences of going about your relationship with this person that way. And really, is it going to lead to greater emotional intimacy between the two of you? Is it going to lead to the two of you being happier about life? No, I mean, I would think long-term if that were me. Thank you for sharing that.
That one was I don't know, it seems like such a small thing, but it was really a game changer. I talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Laura, for being here today. What a great conversation. So much food for thought. I really want to continue to come back to reminding everybody that you are where you are on your path and on your journey with all of this. So yes, give yourself grace, give each other grace, continue to self-reflect, continue to, figure out what it is that you actually want out of this lifestyle, out of your relationships. Consider what you might gain by moving in this direction. And yeah, I wish you luck. I wish everybody lots of love, lots of multiplied love. So thank you so much for listening. And again, what do you want to hear Laura and I talk about in the future? Send me an email, hit me up on Instagram. Just throw it out there. And if you have a question about non-monogamy or anything we've discussed today, Laura and I can answer it in one of the episodes. That would be cool. I hope that we start to collect these. Laura, do you have anything sexy going on this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to a burlesque show on Saturday, so I'm really excited about that.
That qualifies.
Just attending. I'm not in it, but...
Oh, damn. All right, very cool. And you know what is also really cool? Laura and I both live in Denver. So when are we going to hang out again? Let's do happy hour sometime soon.
Let's definitely do that.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who has followed me over into the new show. I am so full of energy. And I know that this was the right choice for me as far as shifting gears with my approach and the topics and the format and the name and all of it. So thank you sincerely to everyone who is continuing to follow me and listen. With that, I'll see you next week. Have fun out there.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Sex and the Solo Girl with Janice Formicella, the podcast for those who want to add more flavor to their relationships with themselves and others. If you liked today's episode, make sure to head over to Instagram and let her know. See you next week.